Okay.
So I am really excited to talk to you because I feel like we've never talked on this level before.
No, not as adults.
No, isn't that crazy? I'm sure we talked about the craziest shit when we were little, but
No, right?
so I have always called you Lorena because it's like I could hear your mom
Yes.
saying it.
Laurina, Laurina, yeah, whatever sounds good. I'll answer to all of them.
This is my childhood friend, Laurina, Lorena, whatever you want to call her. Either one, just don't call her anything bad. We've been friends forever. I mean, I don't even know the age. I must have been maybe 6, 7 or something. Do
Yeah.
you know how young I was? Because you're a little bit older than I am.
Yeah, I think
Not
I
by
was
much,
like
right?
9. I'm 37 now, so I think I was like
Yeah,
9.
we're only 2 years. Two
Yeah.
years. Okay, so we got it about my grandma and your mom were
Hmm.
besties, and your mom has to
Yes.
be like 20 years younger than my grandma, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
At least.
At least.
That
Yeah.
just goes to show you how cool my grandma was.
Yes, your grandma was very young at heart, and then my mom became really good friends with your mom.
Yes.
We all kind of hung out, so I remember those days very
Yeah, and
well.
it was nice because we're 3 girls and then you just had your brother, so you got to hang out with us girls.
Yep, yep. And you guys had all the cool toys. Like, oh, I remember just being so excited to go to your house because you guys had like the little like Barbie truck Humvee looking thing, and we'd ride around in it. And
Oh,
yeah,
my
and
pink Jeep? Was it
yes,
pink?
yes,
Oh my god, I thought that was the coolest thing in the whole world too.
yeah. I
I'm
remember
still like,
it got
"Oh my
to
god."
yeah, it got to a point where I was like, I was too heavy for it, and I couldn't ride in it anymore. And I was like, just so sad about it. But yeah, those were some.
We like we almost never threw that thing away. The battery, everything was damaged, but we were just pushing each other, pushing each other. So that house still to this day has so many memories.
Yeah.
But I want to thank you for coming on the podcast and talking to me. I'm sure you were like, what the heck are we going to talk about?
No,
But
my
I
pleasure.
just think you're such an admirable woman. Really do. From
Thank
looking
you.
from an outside, I've always just, of course, it's just social media, but I'm like, man, she's beautiful and she's just so successful and she's
Well,
doing so
thank
good. And
you.
of course, I've always wanted the best for you. I wish we would have stayed closer, but we never, I don't know. It just didn't happen. We didn't cross the same circles, but we would always bump into one another.
Yeah, I mean, I moved away for a few years too, and so our paths didn't cross unless we were like in the Portuguese festas or
Yeah,
something.
which
But
is always
hopefully that
nice to
changes
see.
now.
Yeah, totally. I think my sister had mentioned because of course the last time we saw each other had to be a funeral, but we,
Right.
my sister's like, she lives in Dublin. And I was like, what? And I felt like you had told me that once before, but I grew up in Dublin. So I'm like, and I still like
Yeah,
my husband always says I can't cut the umbilical cord. Like I'm still always in Dublin. So that's
I
my
know it's a
place.
nice area.
It is. Are
Yeah.
you planning on staying there for a while?
Yeah, I'm gonna look into buying some things. So I don't know if I'll be able to afford Dublin, but we'll see in
Yeah.
like a year or two. I'll probably because I rent right now, so I'll probably start
Yes.
looking to buy.
Yeah,
Hopefully I can stay in Dublin, but I don't know.
we came out to Tracy, which wasn't of course ideal. We'd love to be back over the hill. We have intentions to
Mhm.
hope going back that way, but it just can't do it. It's
Yeah.
so hard. So we had to kind of get our hands in somehow, somewhere. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I wanted to really dive into your time in the Air Force if you're okay with that.
Yeah, of course.
So for me, like watching you do that is like, what the heck? Because I would never, ever think of doing that because I have a scaredy cat mom. I don't know if your mom's a scaredy cat too. I can't imagine what her response was when you decided to make that decision, but it's so like far fetched for me. So that's why I really wanted to talk to you about it because one, I married a man that is in defense for the Navy. So I started learning about our nation's defense through him. He works for Northrop Grumman and assembles missile tubes and submarines for the Navy. I didn't even think about that being a job, but of course, there has to be a job for that. So I started really learning more about it and how important, especially through COVID. They're like, you guys are going to work. Like, you're a
Yeah.
nation's defense. You're not, we're not stopping. So I started kind of learning more about it and actually had more respect for our nation's defense. I just don't think I was knowledgeable at all about it. So I would love to hear what made you make the decision, or what had it always been in your heart to do something like that?
Um, well, my brother joined the Air Force before me, and he's 7 years older. And so I kind of had that possibility modeled to me from an early age. And I don't know if you remember, but my mom, she was a single mom. It was just like her and my dad divorced when I was really young. And we were kind of like living right at that poverty level. And so I knew I wasn't going to get much help for college, and I didn't really have the resources, and neither did my mom or dad. And so I just felt like it would be the best path for me to do an enlistment or two, gain that experience, the discipline, and then earn all the benefits that come along with that. I didn't anticipate staying for 10 years total active duty, but it kind of just worked out that way because of everything that was happening in 2008 with the economy crashing. That was when I was due to get out. And I'm like, you know what? This isn't a good time to get out. I should do one more enlistment. And I'm glad I did. It gave me more time to like save money and establish myself a little bit better because I didn't have anyone to fall back on, unfortunately. And that's okay. But that was kind of the decision I made. But I'm like, I can't do 20 years and get a retirement. That's too long. I don't think I can make it that long. And so I decided to get out and move back like around 2014 to the Bay Area.
So I didn't realize that your brother was enlisted as well. When I
Yeah,
picture your brother, I just picture him in a folkloric costume.
I know, I know, I know. I know. New dance in the group. I know, right? Yeah.
Yes, that's just how I picture him. That's
Yeah.
so cool. So when you enlisted, how old were you?
I was 18.
So did they come to your school and you kind of sign up that way, or was it?
They definitely came to my school, but I was already in talks with them because my brother's like, you're not going to join any other branch, only the Air Force. And so he kind of brought me to the office, and then I started the process. And so he was kind
Were
of
you
involved.
scared?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I didn't
Do you-
show it, but yes.
Now, when he says you're not gonna, are you talking about not going to the Army or not going to the Navy, and not when you said you're only gonna have this branch? Is that the air because of the Air Force?
Yeah, he just knows how the other branches operate and how the Air Force kind of offers like a better life. And so he wanted me to join the Air Force, and
Yeah,
because a lot of
it's
the other
kind of
branches,
the safest in a way.
it
Yeah,
is in a way, yeah, depending on your job. And so I wasn't very gung ho about like being infantry, or well, at that time women couldn't even go into the infantry, but I wasn't super gung ho about like being on the front lines by any means. So that and the quality of life is just better, and it just seems more like professional in the Air Force. So I felt
yeah.
like my transition out would be easier, and I was right. So it was a good decision.
Now, present day, there's so much controversy with women enlisted in things that are happening that are kind of sketchy. Did you go through anything weird like that? Because I felt like only now things are actually, people are being brave enough to say something.
Yeah, I mean, I went through kind of the standard like inferiority that they make women feel in the military. Like it's very male dominated. I felt kind of on the outside a lot. I didn't feel that same community or camaraderie that I think maybe the guys felt.
Yeah.
And so I was definitely kind of the fly on the wall, is how I felt the majority of my time, because even the other women, it was like this unnecessary competitiveness amongst each other. And I didn't really like that. So it was definitely challenging in that way. Based on all my jobs, though, I didn't have to deal with the conflict and the controversy that some other women had to. Most of my jobs were like pretty friendly, I guess, when it came to like gender.
Yeah.
So it was more just the overall culture that I kind of struggled with sometimes.
I I think it is a great option for someone, especially you literally said you were at the line of poverty, to have
Hmm.
that option. It's kind of like you gave me a rope, like, and
Right.
I'm gonna just like hang on because this might be what can actually get me to that next level in life. Because where are the other opportunities? It's a really good option because you have so many benefits coming out of it.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
And do you feel like it is like a huge stamp in your life, like has made you who you are today?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, our upbringing and our culture makes us who we are, but I feel like joining the military kind of solidified who I was and added just another layer. And I mean, I'm glad I joined, sometimes I'm not because I do feel very different. My
Hmm.
personality, like who I am as a person, is seems to be a little different than my peers who were never in the military.
Did you feel like it's just because the discipline, in a sense, like the structure?
Um, Maybe I wouldn't say I'm very disciplined nowadays. It's more like my thought process, my humor. I can be really direct sometimes and tough skin. I can
You've
have
always been.
Yeah, I've always been sassy for sure. Um
Yes.
yeah, but I think I have some masculine tendencies maybe that
Mhm.
many women don't that were
I
never
feel
in the
like I could relate to you so much with that
Yeah.
because I feel the same way. Yeah. I had to learn getting older that maybe not everyone can handle the same response.
Right.
And if you care about the person, you'll kind of alter a little bit of how you speak to someone. And you learn that as, you learn communication.
Right. Right. My communication was very off, and I learned the hard way, like right after I got out. And so there was definitely an adjustment period, a cooling off period that I had to experience before I kind of felt normal again.
Yeah. So so 10, wait, it was 10 years total, or did you enlist for more?
I did 10 years active duty and then I was in the reserves for a few years, but unfortunately it was very conflicting with my civilian job and school and stuff. So I ended up getting out after like 5 years in the reserves. But it was very like it was like once a month, 2 weeks a year type thing.
You
So
started as a teenager and then came
yeah,
out as a full blown grown woman. That
yeah.
must have been so hard for you. Do you feel like you're like younger than what you are in a way? Like do you feel like time stopped?
In some ways, yeah, I feel like I'm behind the curve in some ways. In other ways, I feel like I'm still young at heart. I've always been wise beyond my years though, even as a kid, just because my mom was working all the time and
I
my
just like
dad.
remember you as a child and I always remember just like cuz you were always just so animated and you had so many ideas and like you when we were around you even though my sister was older than you, I felt like you were like the leader.
Really? Oh man, I don't
Yeah.
know. You have a good memory. Thank you. Um yeah, I felt like I had to grow up fast because I didn't
Yeah.
have, that the financial or like emotional support because my parents, I don't know how your parents are, but they're immigrants and they were working a lot. So they had to be absent a lot, unfortunately, to make ends meet. And so I had to kind of learn on my own. And so going in, I was already kind of wise beyond my years. And then getting out, I feel like the military just gave me a different perspective And so in some ways, yeah, I do feel like I have a unique set of experiences that others don't. But in other ways, I feel behind, like we were talking about a minute ago, like that communication piece, that social piece that I didn't necessarily learn because I was in this like bubble of an environment in the military, and then I get out into the world and I'm like, oh my god, what do I do? Like I don't have anyone telling me what to do or how to act or how to talk. Like I can do what I want, and that freedom is kind of scary, but liberating at the same time. So yeah, it's kind of a tug and a pull in that sense. But I think I've gotten better at it now. Now that, I mean, gosh, I've been out of active duty almost 10 years now. It's crazy how long it's been.
Do you ever have to put your uniform back on for anything?
No,
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 it's
no.
just
I
preserved.
I packed them all in this like special bag and sucked the air out, and they've been in my storage unit for a few years now.
Well, thank you for your service. That's amazing.
Oh,
Would
thank you.
you recommend it to, like, say, your future daughter one day, or any our future kids coming up in this next generation? Would it be something that you would recommend for them to do?
I would. I would. I would share, my knowledge, but it's been so long since I've been in. I think a lot has changed. A lot of things have changed for the better. So I
I was
would
going to say
recommend
probably
it.
for the better.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I do think kids nowadays might be very sensitive. Like it's very, PC, politically correct, and the military isn't really like that. So I'm curious to see how the culture is in the next, how
Yeah.
it evolves, continues to evolve the next 5, 10, 15 years. So that should be interesting.
My husband is so down for our kids to go into service somewhere, and he definitely
Aw.
picks and chooses what branch, and I'm like, no, no, I don't. I'm like, I don't want that. No. And he's like, why wouldn't you want that? I'm like, oh my god, that sounds so scary to me, because all I think is war, 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 war. That's all I think and hear of when I think of someone enlisting. But there are
Mhm.
definitely a lot of benefits to it. I have a couple cousins that they're in the medical field being
Mhm.
enlisted in it. So I think it wasn't broad enough for me to understand. I just thought soldiers, that's all I
Right.
would think. And fighting a war, and I'm like, we're just gonna send our boys to go get killed. Like, I birthed them. You're gonna make that decision.
Yeah, no, I can
But yeah, learning
imagine.
more about it, I can definitely see how it's so beneficial, especially these days, how expensive things are. There's a lot of benefits when you're choosing to buy something and
Mhm.
things like that. So, as scared as I might be and crossing my fingers that they won't choose that path, I would not be the one to say no, for sure.
Good.
How
I'm
did
glad
your
to hear that.
parents react? Because I'm sure for your brother it was different than for you.
Um, I mean, they were supportive. They were just like, "Are you sure?" And I remember being like, "Well, yeah, what other option do I have? Like live here and go to college, community college and work full time. It'll take me forever to finish school, and I didn't have the money for it." So, they didn't give me a hard time at all.
Nice.
Probably because my brother went in and they had to do the same thing for him, so it was kind of like, "Okay, why not?" type thing. So they were supportive. They were sad when I left, and which I was actually surprised because I had a very like uh what's the word I'm looking for? My relationship with my parents was not always the best, and so I was surprised when they were sad to see me go. I thought they'd be happy. But they were
Oh,
like crying and I'm like, "Oh, okay, you do love me after all. You
of
will miss
course.
me." I'm like, "Okay, cool." So, it definitely brought us closer together because it
Distance.
made us miss each other.
Oh yeah. When I moved in with Roger, it was like the first official time, like moving everything out of the house and everything. And I was still going there every morning. And I was like, I like I'm having a hard time distancing myself. My mom's probably like, get out already.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, this is so weird. It's so weird. I just want to go have coffee with my mom. But I definitely was not like that growing up. Like,
Right.
I had to flee every second that I could. There
Mhm.
was no room to stay home for me. So
Yep.
I've lived. So maybe that's why and also as our parents get older, we have such a bigger heart for them.
Hmm.
I'm like, I look at my mom, I'm like, I can't talk back to you or anything. Like, you're
Yeah.
like older now. It's
Yeah.
different. You know, they were definitely fireballs when we were a teenager, so they could yell at
Yes.
us and everything. You come
Yes.
from a huge family. Huge
Hmm.
family. It's your dad's side that's the big side, right? Or is it your
Oh, it's
mom's?
my mom's side.
Your
Yeah. So
mom's
as in,
siblings has a bunch of
right.
siblings.
Yeah, she's one of eight. And then my dad, yeah, is one of two. So definitely my
Okay.
mom's. Yeah,
So
lots
your
of
mom's
cousins.
side was like the most exciting. Your Tia's house was like the most exciting house ever as a child. Like it was like everywhere you
Oh,
looked, there was so much action, kids running around everywhere.
oh
That
yeah.
had to be hard to when you enlisted, and it was kind of a bubble in a sense, right? It wasn't so much chaos.
Right. It was chaos in a sense where I didn't know what to expect, but there was definitely a lot of structure. And I was forced to do things I would have never done on my own, like wake up at 4 a.m. and do the fitness, go running and push-ups and sit-ups and all that stuff at 4:30 in the morning. And you're barely eating, you're barely sleeping. So it's really, really pushes you physically and mentally. So that part was rough, the boot camp. I didn't think it was going to be that hard because I'm like, oh, it's the Air Force. It's probably not going to be that hard. But it was. It was a lot of people dropped out of boot camp because they couldn't
Yeah, I
handle
believe
it.
that.
Which is ironic because people even now still think, oh, well, the Air Force is the easiest one. I guess in some ways, maybe, but in other ways, it's more of a mind game than anything else. So, while the other branches, I think in the past, they were more like physical fitness focused, right? Like on the physical stuff, whereas the Air Force was kind of focused on both.
Physical and mental.
Right.
So were you where did you get enlisted to? Where did you go?
So my first job was finance, so it was just admin work, and I
Okay.
actually got stationed in California, and then when the economic crisis of like 2008 2009 happened, I chose a different job. It was called a flight attendant, so it was for like the VIPs that flew on the Air Force, like Air Force 2 and below. And so I retrained, I interviewed, and I got that job. And so I became air crew, and I flew for a few years on active duty. And I was stationed on the East Coast in like the Virginia, DC, Maryland area.
Oh, okay. Did you like
Yeah,
being there?
I
Did you
did. I
did
liked
you
it. Yeah.
Cuz you can go into town and
Oh yeah,
hang
yeah.
out.
I lived off base. I had my apartment, my dog, and then I would travel a lot. But yeah, no, I liked the East Coast. It was nice to live somewhere else outside of like
Yeah.
where you grew up. So, and I spent a lot of time in other places like for training and stuff, but I actually
Mhm.
lived on the East Coast. Like I got mail there. I had my own place there, and so that was cool.
Yeah. It's so different than what I envision and picture because I think I'm based off of like what my mom has told me growing up and not paying attention in history. I guess I could have listened a little bit more and known, but it it seems so less scary. You saying like I was an admin. And I don't think that a lot of
Yeah.
people realize that there are a lot of jobs like that. And it could open us so this conversation can open a lot of opportunities for people listening and knowing that they don't have to go down the route of like community college and it's kind
Mhm.
of boring, right? I think what you did was a little bit more interesting.
Right. And I went to college later in life. Like by the time I went back to school, I was like 28 going back to college. And I remember thinking, God, I would have never made it if I had gone to school at 18 or 19. I would have dropped out. I would have been in debt. So I would have had student loans. Like I did. At that time, I realized, like, okay, I'm really glad I joined the military and got my benefits. They paid for my college. I ended up transferring to a really good school. I probably wouldn't have done that if I was younger. I just didn't have the focus or the I wasn't like that goal oriented. I just felt really lost like when I was younger, and I didn't really have very many people to kind of help guide me other than my brother, because my parents, they came over and they just got, worked hard with blue collar jobs, and they unfortunately weren't able to go to school and stuff like that. And so it was kind of like looking to my brother, like, okay, what did he do, how did he do it, like, okay, maybe I can follow in his footsteps.
Wow. That's
Mhm.
really awesome. I have such a just talking to you right now, I have such a different view. I'm like, damn. I should have
Thank you.
I should have went. I'm like,
Yeah.
my life would have been totally different, but we all have a reason why we are in the path that we are in.
Right, right. No, I think
What
you
are
made
you
the
up to? What are you doing these days? What are you up to now?
Yeah, so now I'm a tech recruiter at a company called Toast. It's a fintech company. We do a lot of like, it's in the hospitality industry, so like anything food and beverage related. So we do point of sale menus, third party integrations with like DoorDash, Uber Eats. And so I really like it. I really like the company. We went public about a year and a half ago, and I joined Toast from Facebook. So it's been an um, very different environment for the better. I came from Facebook. It was very like competitive, and it was fun, but I worked a lot. And this job, I still work a lot, but it's just a little bit more laid back.
Yeah,
So I
I love
really
the
like
name.
it.
It's a good
Yeah.
name. I saw on your Facebook and I clicked it. I was like, "Oh, I've never heard about this before." I was like, that's probably what would be like Vagaro and stuff for us and like the
Right.
media
Yeah.
industry.
It's
Yeah.
similar.
I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
that sounds like it's like the Vagaro of restaurants." Is
Yes.
it like a
Yes.
point of sale too kind of
Yes.
thing? That's cool. And where are they
Yeah.
located?
They're headquartered in Boston, Massachusetts, but we have offices in the US. So, like Omaha, Chicago, Nashville, and then we have an office in San Francisco. I'll go in like twice a month just kind of for fun, like
Showcase.
to
Yeah.
socialize,
Going
because I
to
work from
work.
home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? So because it's like hospitality, do you get to go to a lot of restaurants and stuff? Do you guys get to
Um,
partake?
yeah, I mean, it's mostly the salespeople that get in, some of the engineers and the like C-suite executives that do more of that, because I'm kind of isolated when I work from home, but we definitely get catering and things like that from Toast restaurants, or occasionally we'll go out and check out a Toast restaurant and we'll get like gift cards. But yeah, it's really cool when you go out into the wild and see that they're using Toast. Now that we've talked about it, you'll probably see it everywhere. I don't know how often you go out to eat, but
Well,
you'll
more
probably see it next
nowadays.
time. Yeah.
Now that my baby is hitting 2, he's a lot more easy because we used to just be like, screw it, just pick it up, just pick it up.
Yeah,
Like
it's too
we
much
didn't
with little
want to do
kids.
it,
Yeah.
but now we're slowly starting to like be normal adults again. It's
Yeah.
so crazy to have. I feel like you and I were very similar in the sense of we are so outgoing and out there wanting to do all the things, but kind of lost in our teens and stuff and didn't know kind of what direction to go. So now to be like in this place where I'm a mom and like have all this everything scheduled and everything, and I like felt like I lost a lot of that, Sylvia, a lot of that identity, like not identity crisis, but I just needed to kind of get back on my feet, like,
Yeah.
doing my hair again and that kind of thing, and slowly getting back into it.
Well,
And
COVID kind of derailed a lot of that for many people, so I can
yeah, and so
imagine.
now I feel like I'm starting to kind of be like, oh, there she is. But I've done a lot of
Right.
growing in all of this time. But yeah, I feel like I'm starting to now talk to adults. Like I told my husband, like, I gotta talk to adults.
Yeah. You gotta
I mean, I have
socialize.
my business, right? I talk to my customers and stuff, but it's still a business
Right.
atmosphere, right? There's nothing like going out to dinner with one of your girlfriends and talking shit all night long.
Oh, yes. Some gossip, catching up, the
What did
boy stuff. Yeah, my married friends love hearing about my dating life because it's such a disaster, so they find it very entertaining. So, Yes, I totally get what you
couldn't
mean.
imagine it being easy after COVID.
No, it's not. But, there's always challenges, right? Like if you're married, you have those challenges. If you have kids, you have those motherhood challenges. If you're single, you have those. So it's like, it's all a shit show regardless of your situation. So it's kind of fun to come together and just kind of vent and
Oh
laugh
yeah,
about it.
live vicariously through your dating world. I dipped into some of the online dating before I met my husband, and there were some interesting encounters.
Oh gosh. Yeah, that's a whole nother podcast, I think. Maybe we can create one of those.
Yeah, on like online dating. Let's just say I had a wife call me.
Oh, I've had that.
Thankfully, like, nothing but texting happened with that person, but I was like, yeah, this is scary.
Yep.
So good luck.
Yeah, thank you. I'll need it. I'll probably take a break. Yeah, because we're going to Portugal for 3 weeks and we're leaving in just 6 weeks. It's right around the corner. Time is flying by. And so I'm excited to kind of see family that I haven't seen since COVID. And I just love our culture. Yeah. I don't know. They might need a green card or something. Who knows? Oh, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, it's going to be a very family oriented trip, but we're going to have some fun too. The older I get, the more I appreciate our culture. Like I remember as a kid just being like, God, I wish I was white. I wish I went to McDonald's every day or every other day like my friends and blah 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 like, oh God, I don't want my mom to speak Portuguese to me. I'm embarrassed, but now I'm very grateful for all of that.
I feel so guilty for my parents, as you know, have had a janitorial company my our entire life, like over
Right.
40 years of janitorial company. And I was living in Dublin, and
Yep.
clearly nobody else had janitorial companies in Dublin. Well,
Right.
that's not what their parents were doing. And I used to get so embarrassed when they would pick me up in the janitorial van. And
Right.
then one time they took the damn van to go pick azeitonas, to pick olives, and they're in like painting clothes. Like, because they have apartments, they probably went to go paint the apartments and they had splattered paint. My mom had this ugly hat, like paint in her hair. And she comes up and she's like, come on. And they're in this van. And I went, no, I'm not going. I'm not going in there. I was so embarrassed. I was with my friends. I couldn't believe it. And the van didn't even have a seat for me. It was a wood plank, like in the middle. And I'm like, I'm not going in that car. My mom walked up to me. She pulled my ear, and I was in middle school, like way too old for this. Dragged me to the car, and I was just like quiet the entire
Yep.
time. But I remember just feeling so embarrassed that my parents were janitors, that they're in Dublin picking olives off random people's trees. And I was
Yep.
just felt like such a foreigner in Dublin. Like since kindergarten, I felt that. Like I remember hearing the word pacifier and being like, what the hell is a pacifier? And so it just was weird even coming to Dublin because I just felt so minority. And then as I've
Yeah.
gotten older, you're like, damn, they they didn't do janitorial work because they loved it. They
Yeah.
did it because that was the only thing that they could do to build an empire for us. So I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm such a little shit. So definitely appreciate it so much more. And I'm proud of my dad. Like so
Yeah.
proud. And I never felt that before. It was like, I wish you had another job. And I'm just so freaking proud of my dad, what he has built for the last 40 something years, employed people. And he really is like, really made a name for himself. And I hope he feels that, like getting into, if he ever retires, because he just
Probably
says
not. He'll
every year,
probably
but he
never.
doesn't.
Yeah, he'll probably never retire. Yeah, no, your parents were always very successful but humble, so you would have never known it.
Yeah,
in their
not just because they're my parents, they really, really have always been humble about their successes and quiet, very quiet
Mm-hmm.
about it. So my parents never really were like crazy people in the Portuguese community either. They were
Mm-hmm.
never like super, super involved. They participated, but they were never super, super involved. So it was only when I was older when I would go to like the big festivals and stuff.
Yeah, like on your own. And I remember you started singing, right? So that
Yeah.
kind of pulled you
So
back in.
yeah, because like my family all sang and stuff, that just family stuff. So
Right.
I was always around music, and then I was just babysitting the drummer's kids, and he's like, "Want to audition for this band?" And it started when I was like 19, and I just went with it. But if I hadn't sang in those conjuntos, my Portuguese would not be what it is right now, because it forced
Right.
me to read it and write it. Because in those days, I didn't have like, I was taking cassette tapes and rewinding them and writing down the words. Like,
Yep.
rewind, what did he say? What did he say? And that's how I was getting my lyrics. So without that, I think my Portuguese, I was at an age where I wasn't using it as much. And so it made me read and write, and it made my Portuguese get a lot stronger. Not that it's the best at all, but
Well, your Portuguese is really good. Really, really good. I remember being like, dang, she speaks a lot. Like I don't know why I thought you guys went to school for Portuguese, but maybe
we
not.
did for a little bit, but it wasn't.
Oh, okay, okay.
We did Portuguese school in San Leandro. There used to be a little
Oh, I
it was
remember now.
it was like after school. It was like an after
Mhm.
school program. It was like once or twice a week or something like that.
Yeah,
So yeah, that actually did help me, but my parents spoke Portuguese at home. So we would
right.
answer back in English,
Me
and
too. Yeah.
I don't know what it was, but there was a point where my mom was kind of making fun of me when I would say the wrong words. So
Yeah.
I would respond, "I'm never speaking Portuguese again." And
Yeah.
I would get so embarrassed. So my husband, he doesn't speak well, but he understands everything.
Hmm.
So marrying me, he's like, I speak much more Portuguese now because we're talking shit in front of our kids.
Yes. 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 It's so
Uh,
important.
but he, I try to be very like soft when I'm correcting him because of my trauma.
I
So
know, right?
I'm not trying
Right.
to like offend you or anything. I just want you to learn so that if you ever do say it in front of someone, you don't feel like I try to like come really soft to him. But yeah, my Portuguese also is not the best because my parents were born in such like a, oh, hey. My son, hold on a second. Look at this.
Oh.
Oh my god. What is it? Oh, he's jumping. He took a picture of himself jumping. That's pretty cool. You caught that.
Oh.
Okay, a few more minutes, baby. It's a Mario jump. Good job. Okay, close the door. Close the door. Close the door. A few more minutes, okay? I have him on his iPad when I do this. Like, I don't give him the iPad for a long time, so then he wants it and he's soaked in for like an hour.
Good.
But
Keep
yeah, so
them
you're going to
busy.
Portugal. Where are you visiting?
We're going to Lisbon and then, but most of our time is going to be in the Azores and we're just going to island hop because my dad, he sold the house that they bought in Castro Valley, like when I was in high school. They sold it about 4 or 5 years ago and then they retired, they moved to Portugal, to the Azores and retired. So he's on Piku, but we're going to go to like San Miguel, Terceira, and then hopefully we can fly to or take the boat to Fayal as well. So as many islands as we can, and then we're gonna fly back to Lisbon and do a few days there, and then come back.
Oh, fun. I can't wait to go back. I haven't done the Azores yet. I've done Madeira, but I haven't done the Azores, and I can't wait. My husband has a lot of family over there, so I'm sure we'll be hosted. But
Yeah,
we want to visit San Miguel. Have you been there?
yeah, but I was a kid, so I haven't been there as an adult. I've been to Piku, Fayal, um, and Lisbon, but I've never been to Madeira, and I haven't been to San Miguel as an adult. So
Madeira is really fun too if you ever get a chance to go to their
heard.
capital. That it's really really cool. Like
Yeah, I want
I
to go one
I
day.
liked it so much. But what do you think about this Netflix series? Have you started watching it? Everyone's talking about it. The
Which
Turning
one?
the Tide.
No,
You haven't.
I haven't.
Okay, so it's called Rabo de Peixe, and it's all in San Miguel. Well, I'm
Oh.
sure certain parts were not filmed in San Miguel, like, not every part, but it's based there, and it's about how the drugs came over there by like Italians that shipwrecked. And okay, I'll be right there. And so the drugs are like on the beach, and like all the Portuguese people are taking it not knowing what it is, but they're like something, it's something, right? So you
Oh
see
my
like there
gosh.
was a clip that was so funny where they're like feeding it to the pigs, putting it in
Oh
their
my God.
like, and so it's so good. So if you see it on Netflix, I'm only a few episodes in, but it's cool because Roger's family's from San Miguel, so he's like, it's cool. You kind of get to see a little bit of how it looks and stuff over there. But it's all in Portuguese, but there's the subtitles. But Turn of the Tide, and I think that's how you find it best is Turn of the Tide. But it's
Okay, I'm
already
gonna have to
gotten
check it
like
out.
it's like number 8 worldwide or something like that.
How funny. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check it out. I went down some rabbit holes when we did our ancestry, the test to kind of see like what what our genealogy would say, and it talks a lot about the history and stuff. So it's just really interesting. Oops, I spilled water on myself.
So
It's been really interesting, like learning about our culture and why there are Portuguese people in the Azores and Mozambique and Cape Verde and Goa, India, so it's just really cool. Like I have such a better appreciation for all of it. So nowadays, so I'm just super excited.
I'm excited for you. I can't wait to see pictures and everything. I hope to go soon, man. I said once my little one wipes his own butt, we're going.
Yes, you should. And you can drop them off with your relatives, and like go do fun stuff.
We'll definitely get together because my mom is with the kids every Thursday and Friday. So I'm like, you're gonna just
Perfect.
watch them for a little bit longer. I'm gonna go out to dinner
Yes, and we can
and we'll
have
get
my mom go
together.
too.
Yeah, and we'll have to get our moms together. I'll make sure that happens.
Oh,
But thank
yes,
you
for
for
sure.
coming on the show, sharing your story. I hope that there are so many young girls, not just girls, but yes, young girls that admire your story as well and take that path because I think it's really important to talk about because I don't think a lot of people are enlisting as much as they were, and I think
Right.
that's based on fear. And like me, I didn't know much about it, so thank you for sharing all of that with me.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you. I'll see you soon.
Okay, sounds good. See you.
All right, bye.
Bye.